If you've ever pulled a loaf out of the oven and it looked flat, dense, and just kind of disappointingly sad, I want to tell you something first. You didn't fail. Bread rising isn't luck. And once you understand what's happening inside the dough, baking gets so much easier. Here at Humbly Homemade, we focus on the science behind bread baking. So today, I'm going to walk you through the 5 most common reasons why bread doesn't rise and how to fix each one. I'll specifically be talking about breads made with dry yeast, but these principles still apply just as much to sourdough. Because bread rising comes down to gas production, gluten structure, and timing. That's it. Once you have those 3 things down, everything changes. First, let's start with the most obvious and easily fixable problem. Yeast is a living organism. If it's expired or stored improperly or killed by hot liquid, it can't produce enough carbon dioxide. And without gas production, there's not going to be any rise. So how do we remedy this? For starters, you want to check the expiration date on your yeast's package. If you buy yeast in bulk or if you don't bake often right now, there's a chance it could be expired and you need to replace it. Next, you want to make sure that the temperature of the liquid that you're adding to your dough, water or maybe milk if you're making an enriched dough, is between 95 and 110 degrees Fahrenheit or about 35 to 43 degrees Celsius. Anything over 120 degrees Fahrenheit or around 49 degrees Celsius can start killing the yeast. So pull out your kitchen thermometer and test your liquid before mixing it in. Finally, you'll want to make sure that you're storing your yeast properly. Store any unopened yeast in a cool, dry environment, like your kitchen cupboard. And once a yeast packet or jar has been opened, store it in the fridge for about up to 4 months or up to 6 months in the freezer. So if your dough didn't rise at all, this is often the culprit. Now, this next one sometimes surprises people. Gluten forms this stretchy network that traps gas. It looks kind of like a spider web or this string on this bowl. If it's underdeveloped, then our gas, like CO2, can just go right through and it escapes. If your dough's gluten is underdeveloped, it will tear easily instead of being stretchy and elastic, which means that your bread will splay out instead of holding its shape when you try to shape it because it's lacking that structure. We want to develop a really strong gluten network in the dough so that way the gas inside can't escape. So how do we fix our gluten structure? Well, first, kneading. You'll probably want to knead the dough a little longer. There are several stages that dough typically goes through as it's kneaded, which I'll dive deeper into in another video. But in the end, you want to knead your dough until it feels flexible, not stiff, strong, not floppy, and elastic, not prone to ripping. Second, you want to make sure that the hydration level in your dough is correct, which comes down to the ratio of ingredients in the recipe you're following. For the recipes on my blog, I calculate the hydration percentage and tweak it as needed based on the texture that I'm going for. For example, lean doughs like a crusty Dutch oven bread need a little more hydration than enriched breads, which include milk, eggs, and butter in the dough. I like to think of gluten as like a balloon or like this mesh bag. These colorful blocks are all of the gas that yeast has produced, filling it up. But if your balloon or the bag has a weak gluten structure and there's holes in it and the holes are too big, then all of that air escapes. All right, this third reason happens when we're trying to rush the process. Yeast needs time to ferment and create gas. So if you bake too soon, the yeast hasn't had enough time to create enough expansion for the dough to rise properly. Here is a dough that I have that's currently proofing right now. You can tell if your dough is underproofed and therefore needs more time if the dough springs back immediately after poking it. You want an indentation made by your finger to take around 2 to 3 seconds to fill back in. Now note here that I'm talking about proofing or the dough's second rise, which I go into more detail about in my rising versus proofing video, which I'll link here. And once dough that's underproofed gets baked, it comes out of the oven with a really tight, dense crumb because it wasn't able to create big enough air pockets to have a nice, fluffy interior. So how do we fix this one? Well, first, during the dough's first rise or the bulk rise, you want to let it fully double in size. Now note, this applies to most but not all doughs, so use this as a rough guide. And then during the second rise or proofing stage, use that poke test that I talked about earlier. Finally, you want to check your kitchen temperature. In general, dough thrives in a temperature range from 75 to 78 degrees Fahrenheit or about 24 to 26 degrees Celsius from the moment the dough is mixed right up to when it goes into the oven. If your kitchen is too cold, it'll take a lot longer to rise than what's written in the recipe. I like to let my dough rise and proof in the oven turned off with the oven light on, which provides a nice warm, draft-free environment, especially in winter. So just remember, bread dough doesn't follow a clock. We're working with active living yeast that follows conditions. On the flip side of mistake number 3, you can also let your dough rise too long or become overproofed. Eventually, as our dough is proofing, our yeast runs out of food, and when the dough is overproofed, the gluten structure ends up weakening and collapsing. So remember that poke test I mentioned earlier? An overproofed dough won't spring back to its original shape when you make that indentation with your finger. It feels really sticky, fragile, and deflates easily, which can cause it to come out flat. Now, to fix this one of the best tips I ever learned along my baking journey was to watch the dough, not the timer. Even 1 or 2 degrees difference in the air temperature or ingredient temperature can affect how long your dough needs to rise. Next, you want to check that kitchen temperature again. If you're baking in a really hot kitchen where the temperature is over 80 degrees Fahrenheit, around 26 to 27 Celsius, fermentation can happen too quickly, creating sticky, overproofed dough before you even realize what's happening under that kitchen towel. If my kitchen is too hot, I stick my dough in the fridge for the first half hour of the rise time. That cools it down enough to slow fermentation as the dough slowly warms back up for the rest of the rise time. So if your dough rose quickly and beautifully but then collapsed and flattened, this is likely what happened. Alright, this last one is the reason almost no one talks about. If your dough didn't get enough surface tension created when you shaped it, it'll spread out instead of rising up. This mistake is preventable by using a proper shaping technique to create surface tension. There are different methods, and I'll cover more in another video, but I like to pull my dough along my counter to create a nice smooth surface with all the seams tucked underneath. And scoring incorrectly can ruin the structure you worked so hard to create, so be sure to watch my bread scoring video next, which I'll link here. Basically, the oven can't create structure. It can only expand what's already there. So if your bread didn't rise, ask yourself, was my yeast alive and in its ideal temperature? Did I build enough gluten through hydration and kneading? Did I give it enough time to ferment during its rise? Did I give it too much time and it overproofed? And did I shape and score it correctly before baking? The TLDR is bread rising equals gas plus structure plus timing. And once you understand that, bread baking becomes so much less frustrating. If this helped you troubleshoot your bread, give this video a like. And if you enjoy understanding the science behind cozy homemade bread, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more rustic bread baking tips. Happy baking!